And Lambo is a player who's gone a lot further in WCS events as of late. I mean, we know how good Lambo's been lately. I mean, he got top 6, top 8 in WCS Winter, top 24 in kind of VIT made to the group stages, top 4 twice last year in Austin and then also in Montreal. So Lambo really was able to deliver last year. Only top 16 this year in WCS Spring, but really is a player which I think we look at and say, okay, well, I think we expect him to do well here. And again, it's a tough one because I feel like when you put these two up against each other, it's a fairly even series. But Lambo's definitely had the better WCS results, so very intrigued to see how this plays out as they're fighting for a place in the top 24 of the tournament. On the top left, our red Protoss player, we have got Harstem. And to the bottom right-hand side, we do have the blue Zerg Lambo. Does the stream feel like it's not 60 FPS? I kind of feel like that as well, but I think it's just my PC acting up at the start of the day. I think it's, for some reason, my actual in-game FPS is kind of low. I'll try and fix that in a little bit, guys. For now, let's just talk about this game, because obviously series is starting up. So let's see what's going to happen. Now, Cyber Forest for the first map is very interesting. So the way the vetoes work is, but in a best of 5, you have 2 players get to pick before, you get to pick 1 map each before any veto. Before any veto. So, Harstem, you know, I don't know, I would imagine that this was Harstem's map pick, and then map 2 would be Lambo's map pick. Then they get 1 veto each, and then they pick between the last couple of maps. So, Cyber Forest is a very good map for Protoss. It's a very short rush distance, there's a lot of chokes to utilize. I would imagine this is Harstem's map pick, and I would imagine that Lambo's maybe not super comfortable playing here on this map, and I think this is a great way for Harstem to potentially get up in the series nice and early on. Take that lead and kind of go from there, as we do have the single probe just trolling over to the right-hand side. There's that link speed starting up from Lambo. Meanwhile, Warp Gate on the way out, and there is the Adept, of course, as well. Once again, heading over to the bottom right of things. So Harstem heading down to the bottom right, looking to see just what's going on in the early stages. And that probe from Harstem heading up towards the upper left, so he's just been scouting around a little bit, obviously getting home before the Lings become a little bit too much for him. As the Queen here will be able to turn the Adept around pretty quickly, so Adept does turn around. I mean, this is the sort of map where you expect something very aggressive, I think, out of Harstem as well. Something like an Immortal push. He's going into that Twilight Council initially. Let's see if he's going to drop the Robo as well. He will. So looks like we'll probably just see a Dark Shrine to begin with here. And by getting into a Dark Shrine initially, obviously leading into that Archon drop as a follow-up. Harstem is someone who, again, we talked about this a bit yesterday when you watched some of his PvZ, which didn't go so well against Snoot, actually, in the first group stage. Did get 2-0'd by Snoot. He played very aggressive there as well, as, okay, well, there you go. Charge on the way up. We're going to see some super aggressive stuff then from Harstem. As I was going to say, sometimes you'll see him kind of mix in resonating glaives attacks, etc. Wasn't expecting that on this map, was thinking about it later in the series, but this is kicking off a lot further, or a lot faster than I thought. Pulling 1 worker out of the gas here. He's really just finding the minimum he needs to get an Immortal out. And he's going to add on a ton of extra gateways. And he is just going to go all out aggression. Warp Prism, Corona Boost. Now he does have the kind of the setup, the gas to build an Immortal. So he's going Warp Prism first. And now he drops a Dark Shrine too. Okay. So it's actually going to be the very aggressive kind of a few Zealots into your Archons. And you kind of have like charge with Archon attack setting up. Okay. I guess that makes sense because he wasn't pulled completely out of the gas, right? To just go super heavy on the Zealots, and it also makes sense for getting the Warp Prism first as well. Okay, I like it. I'm just going to be seeing the extra gateway going to be finishing up as some Zerglings just hanging out down on the lower ground. Rotroran is just over halfway done as well, so Rotroran just over halfway done. The Dark Shrine ticking along at the moment. Warp Prism from Harstem heading down to the bottom right. 4 Zealots inside. The Dark Shrine about halfway done then. Means that he's going to be able to go into something soon. I think Lambo doesn't really have a scout of what this is, by the way. I don't think Lambo's expecting the DTs at all. He has 0 detection, no less started. Oh my god. When we actually see another set of... when the DTs warp in, things could just die. Okay, we're going to see Spore Crawlers now, so maybe Lambo has got a bit of an idea, but it's going to be really late. I mean, the DTs can warp in a moment. Harstem has the money to warp in with DTs. He's also already causing chaos. I mean... yeah, he's just going to warp in right on top of this third base, sorry, and of course, Then he's just going to go straight towards that Spore Crawler. Drones are going to try and surround it, but the DTs are going to get onto it. And, I mean, there's just enough Zealots here anyways. Harstem is going to pick up a very quick win here in game number 1. The Dark Templar really just putting an end to it. I mean, the Zealots alone were doing kind of okay, but there was Roach 1. He's the Red Protoss player in the bottom right-hand side from Asterion Gaming, Harstem. Up against the Blue Zerg. In the top left-hand side, we have Lambo. So my FPS is just a lot better in this game. So I feel like it was maybe just Cyber Forest was just having a bit of a hissy fit with my PC or something. Freaking maps just throwing a hissy fit whenever they want to get their own way or something. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, so game number 2, as we got this set up to roll. Gateway dropping down from Harstem in the front of the natural expansion and just getting into the early stages here on Acropolis. I'm very intrigued to see what Harstem does on Acropolis. It feels like this is the map where he might just throw out an all-in, where just because, again, like, how do you play a longer game on this map? It's very difficult. The Zerg will get a lot of their bases down this left-hand side very easily. It's going to be very tough for you to push into those bases. And then, you know, if you do push into this base, the Zerg can be expanding up here at the same time, and it's very hard for you to swing around over there just to hit that base too. Although, one thing Harstem is very good at when it comes to mid and late game PvZ is those Zealot run-bys, and not necessarily via Warp Prism. Just say, if, you know, if his third base is here, he'll warp in a bunch of Zealots, and he could send them up and rally them across towards this base, while maybe he pushes the left-hand side. That's one thing Harstem is very good at. So maybe he isn't as afraid as I'm letting on about playing Acropolis. Honestly, I think it was like WCS, probably winter or spring qualifiers. I was casting a lot of Harstem's PvZ. And his Protoss versus Zerg was actually very impressive when he got to the later stages. You know, he was one of these players that you always were, you know, he was always counterattacking, he was always playing safe, he wasn't diving in too quickly, he was just very happy to build up a later game army and say, well, you know, let's do this, let's, you know, play the late game. And we do have the Overlord coming back over the natural expansion. We're going to see the Nexus dropping down in the natural expansion as well. And just getting this set up as the link speed on the way up here from Lambo. Getting that link speed up and rolling. Obviously, for the moment, we're still just in the setup phase of this game. There is the Twilight Council opening from Harstem. Resonant Enclaves could be a choice here. A large map, but obviously the Adepts move across pretty quickly, so that could help out. Just one way to kind of harass into, you know, like in a follow-up kind of Adept Mortal push, right? Could be a very powerful way to get things going. So there's a couple options here from Harstem with that Twilight Council early. Of course, it doesn't have to be Resonant Enclaves. It could be more something more along the lines of, you know, of a Dark Shrine and just straight into an Archon drop this time, rather than the Dark Shrine being added on at a bit of a weird timing. 3 workers on each gas at this moment, so we're going to see something, I think, a little different to what we saw in that first game. In the first game, we really did see Harstem just not taking his gases as quickly as he would have liked to, or not would have liked to, but as quickly as we usually see Protoss players taking gases. And there we go, a Dark Shrine starts to build behind this mineral line. Another gateway coming up at the front here. Pulling this off as we do have the Adept just coming back home as well. I mean, he's been out on the map and picking up information, so Harstem knows that Lambo's going up to 3 hatcheries, for example. Just picking up as much info as possible. That's a nice quick let out of Lambo. And I think this is maybe something along the lines of just that Roach Roar and making sure he will have the Overseer up nice and quickly to be able to deal with Dark Templar this time around. He's taking the second and third gases in the natural as well. So investing into a little bit more tech-heavy play. So just watching to see if we will see that Roach Roar at all. We also, you know, with the lair coming up, and the later the Roach Roar is, the more you could maybe yell Nidus, but it's still quite a few drones from Lambo, right? I mean, there is sometimes that build where you kind of throw down the Roach Roar, and as the, you know, as the lair finishes, and you start the Nidus, and then the Nidus finishes as the Roaches pop, basically. It looks like he's just going to go into the lair, so he's just going to have the Overseer of Detection as the Warp Prism heads up to the top side of the map. Again, I think very typically here you just have a Roach Roar instead of. He has a lot of gas. What is he going to do with it? A Hydralisk Den. Okay, well that is very different, of course. So Hydralisk Den going to be what he rushes into right now. We don't really see the fast Hydro Den opening. For a while back in, I think it was like late 2017 even, this was kind of the go-to build. The 330 lair into the Hydralisk Den. And And it became very, very popular. This was just how all Zergs opened, and it led into a lot of 50 to 60 drone Ling Hydra all-ins. Obviously, you could transition into Ling Bane Hydra off of this as well with the fast Hydras. So there's a lot of different possibilities here. Now, as Lambo adds on another round of drones, it's going to be pretty much his last set of drones for the moment, right? He has to make a few Hydras at least. Okay, Hydra speed starts up. Muscular Augment's going to be the first upgrade on the Hydra's Den. Meanwhile, the Nexus drops in on the third base as well, over on the right-hand side. The Queens going to get a couple shots off there, and that War Prism getting a bit too adventurous. And he's going to have to be, again, super careful now that these Hydras are on the way out. Shot just on up from Harstem at home. Has just not seen that Hydra Den. It's placed in a very good situation or position here. I mean, this is not a location Harstem easily gets to with the Prism, if it pushes the third or the main base at all, right? So, I love that Hydra's Den positioning. Makes it difficult for Harstem to scout. Makes it difficult for him to respond to what's going on here. And to kind of, set up any sort of a hard counter against his opponent. Go chasing this Overlord, but these Lings are obviously very mobile compared to Roaches, so you can actually protect this a little bit more easily than usual, although it decides he doesn't have enough. It's not worth losing the Lings to the Archons to keep that Overlord alive, so the Overlord will just fall. I mean, Ness is on the way up here on the third base. Again, just going to see that Muscular Augment finishing in a moment or two. +1 missile attack. Obviously, we're expecting this to be quite kind of Hydra heavy, right? So seeing missile upgrades instead of melee upgrades does mean we're going to be quite Hydra heavy rather than Ling Bane heavy with kind of a supplement of Hydralists, which, again, this makes a lot of sense based on the fact that we saw the Hydras very early in the game. If you want to go melee upgrades, you generally go melee upgrades pretty early before Hydras, because then the +2 kicks in nice and quickly, and the +2 melee is that real kind of key point where it's like, oh my god, you can do so much with +2 melee actually, because you can one-shot probes, and that makes those Baneling run-bys instantly so much more effective than you would have ever, initially imagined him. Archons pressing through here. Queen's going to be able to turn the Warp Prism away. A couple more of these Archons, then dropping down. 2 DTs. Going to be finishing warping in right now, and it's going to be kind of a large push from Harstem. I mean, 71 army supply. He's pushing in before Bane speed and, Hydra range and +1 missiles is done. So it is a good little time for him to fight, and he does find 2 Queens in the low ground, so good initial pickoffs from Harstem here. I kind of like this for the next few moments, but he doesn't want to stay too long, I think. There's definitely a fine line between being here and doing very well and being here and getting completely overrun. And that fine line, I think, lasts for another 30 seconds, so after the 8-minute mark, I'd love to see Harstem maybe just being a bit more passive. I love this as well, by the way. It snipes down that Overseer, and that means there's a chance for there being just not really proper detection to help deal with these DTs, and the DT is actually doing quite well. There's no Spore Core on this third base either, so Harstem's making a really good fight out of this and really trading well, and that means he can continue to fight this obviously beyond that kind of 8-minute timer that I was setting for him, and he's just going to continue trading. You can see the drones pulling in, obviously means they are in a lot of trouble. There's just no units here anymore. The Hydras are going down, and Lambo has absolutely nothing. Harstem takes 2-0, just like I'd say, Thunderbird, King's Cove, New Repugnancy, I would expect to be the remaining 3 maps now. Usually they're the first maps picked, because usually you get your kind of, you do a veto each and then you just pick maps, right? And these are the maps people are usually most comfortable on. But obviously we see kind of Cyber Forest and Necropolis as the first 2 maps in this series. I think mostly because, again, like Harstem obviously would love to play Cyber Forest, but usually that gets vetoed, and Lambo would usually love to play Acropolis, but that usually gets vetoed, so we do see those maps that we don't usually see coming in at the start of this one. As we are best of 5s today, of course, best of 5 in every single series. As to the top left-hand side, we do have the red Protoss player. Give it up for Harstem. Up against the blue Zerg side, Lambo. Again, a really fun match so far in this knockout bracket. I do love the addition of this knockout bracket in the WCS system. Essentially giving players a third life after groups. Usually you lose 2 best-of-3s in groups and you're out. Now you have to lose a third series to be truly eliminated. And it means if you get put into that group of death, you can definitely then recover and kind of go on a big run from there. And we've seen a couple of players gone big runs in this knockout bracket. From the very first round, Vanya has made it all the way through to this knockout, to this kind of knockout best of 5 now. So he's already in the prize money, and will, if he advances to, advances one more series, he's in the official playoff bracket. That would be a hell of a result. He is currently playing Gung Fu Banda. Eric yesterday had a great run as well from round 1. And even players like Harstem. Harstem would have usually been eliminated from the tournament already, but no. He had a really tough group too, like a very even group, I feel. Nurtio, Namshar, Harstem, and Zanster. I feel like that's a very tough group. Like, a lot of players, yes, you don't have like gods in there like Neeb or Serral or something, but they're players that are all very evenly matched. And so when 2 of them go down, we actually saw both the players that got knocked down in that group continue through the bracket to still be in today. So just really helps to balance out, in case you get that group of death. Makes your life just that little bit easier. By the way, the Hellraiser Killers Earth series must be a hell of a match, because the first game's only just ended. Looked like they're playing some pretty fun TVPs over there. That is, of course, over on the mainstream, guys. Twitch.tv/StarCraft. We're the B stream today, bringing you guys all of what we think are the best matches outside of what the mainstream picks. So, obviously, our matches are somewhat limited by what mainstream chooses, but we should still have some very good games, some very fun games throughout the day for you all. So looking forward to it. Again, hopefully you guys are going to sit back, have some fun with us. As you do see the opening here on Thunderbird, Harstem opting to wall this high ground and just say, well, yep, going to fully wall off any access into my free bases. And the thing is, I think Harstem as well feels really safe right now. At 0-2 down, is Lambo really just going to kick it into some sort of like crazy cheese strat? The thing is, Lambo is usually very confident in his macro play, so I think for Lambo to say, I'm just going to go all in on a map like Thunderbird, it just doesn't make much sense. And so that's why he's very happy to just throw down this kind of wall off across the front. Super fast free bases, straight into a Forge after the Stargate. Doesn't even go into an Oracle, just Phoenix to clean up the Overlord. Straight into the Forge, straight into the Robo. And now, of course, Lambo is very in the dark as to what exactly is going on. He didn't get to see the third. He didn't get to see, the Forge coming down. So he is completely blind as to what's happening at the moment. And that's really nice, because he has no idea if that's about to be like, an Oracle showing up. He has to prepare for that. He has to, be ready in case a Warp Prism shows up in the next few moments. Something along those lines. I know Indy's spectating the mainstream matches. Are you commentating and spectating your own matches? Yeah, we do. We always do the observing while commentating, which is why we, honestly, more often than not, do miss some things. Drops slipping by and stuff like that. Honestly, I'm kind of a bad observer. I get too carried away with reading Twitch chats sometimes or going off on my own tangents. I just forget to look at the minimap. It's very, it's very reminiscent of my own ladder play. I just get too into doing everything else other than looking at the minimap, and then the big Protoss army has walked through all 3 of the watchtowers I hold, and is just knocking on my front door, and I'm like, what? Overlord gets picked off there. Queens not able to push that Phoenix back in time. As the Templar Archives dropping down in the main base. So getting that Templar Archives up and running obviously opens up access in towards Archons. And just gives us, he maybe even wants to go, he could even go Storm here, like pretty early on if he wants to. It's absolutely a possibility. By the way, double Evo, is that right for Lambo? Wow, very interesting. Oh, no, sorry, he cancelled his upgrade. I was thinking, he started the upgrade and he cancelled pretty much right away after, so I think it was just because of the scout coming in or so. He throws down the Nidus. I was wondering, I was like, man, he starts +1, and then I was like, I'm looking at Evo, but it's not there. So I thought there was a second Evo that was a mistake, but not the case, not the case. So he just cancelled it to throw down the Nidus. So Lambo was actually going pretty much all in, but obviously Harstem with this Observer just scouts it. What a scout that is. Great information, and now he's already even making a Void Ray, right? He is making anything he can to help defend this. I love it. I don't even know, I think, what does Lambo do? He's going to throw down a Nidus on this side. We saw Scarlet doing a Nidus on this side of the minerals yesterday, and what you can do is mine out a couple of these patches so you can start seeping in, and then obviously to put a Nidus over here. Harstem's going to start adding on cannons as well. Remember that he does have +1 already. He's got charge. He's got 2 Immortals, he's got Temple Archives, so he can build Storm as well. You know, there's the drones coming through, so they can start mining out these minerals. He's going to bring quite a few overs just so he can make sure he brings... He wants to really create some space here. Oh, what a force field! Oh no. Oh no, Lambo! Oh my god, what a good set of force fields. And the drones are going to be blocked. Harstem saw this with the Phoenix, and that's obviously great info for him. And if you try and push up this way, there's cannons and a shield battery, so actually Harstem's very well defended on the ramp over there. Okay, now that we are going to see those drones able to mine those minerals. Actually, doesn't get the 3 in a row, so this one's still going to kind of act as a bit of a choke-up. It's very, very slowed down already here, and Harstem has had a lot of time to just add extra units into this. These units are going to start making their way through now. A force field will still do very well to cut these units in half. Oh my god. This is already looking like a bit of a massacre, honestly. As the units up on the top side are just kind of fighting against the cannon. The shield battery doing a lot to help. What a hold already from Harstem. I'm just going to say it. I know it's early to say it, but he's defending very well. Now, there is this push up the left-hand side, and this is something Harstem is not quite as well positioned to deal with, although he does bring the Void Ray back over. Void Ray is mostly watching for overlords, trying to drop a Nidus into the natural. I think Harstem says as long as you have to push up, put Nidus outside of my base and push up or into somewhere, I'm kind of happy defending. This Void Ray will make itself known for a moment. The Queens will be able to start going into that Nidus. The Void Ray needs to be careful because obviously quite a lot of Queens can pop out of here at a moment's notice. Oh, but not if they all get caught in the force fields over on the right side. The Nidus gets killed. Oh my god, and he lifts up the one Queen that does come out of the Nidus with the Phoenix, so the Void Ray can just go to town. My god, this was an absolute disaster for Lambo. What a defense by Harstem. I mean, it all just came down having that observe. I mean, his entire setup here, he was almost so greedy that this attack came in so too late for Lambo to really, truly punish him. Having the observer across the map obviously just gave him a lot of information to work with as well. Man, that is actually crazy, as we're going to be seeing Harstem coming around the top side and getting ready to defend over on the right. We see a 4th Nexus being placed here from Harstem as well. Meanwhile, a Fleet Beacon and a Stargate in the main, so it is starting to head in towards that later stage of the game as well. And let's just see that lair finishing up injects. +1 air weapons. Chrono boosting away on the Cybernex core as Roaches and Ravagers will knock down these rocks, opening up the map a little bit. And those few High Templar from Harstem coming forwards. There's been a really good display of PvZ by Harstem. And winning this actually sends him through to play against Special in the round of 24. I actually think that's a very tough match for Harstem, though. Special is doing really well right now, so that should be very interesting. Special did lose out to Showtime yesterday, though. So, he has had some weakness in his TVP, but I mean, hey, it's Showtime, right? Showtime is also really good. Nice to see Showtime doing so well, by the way. Round of 16 after dislocating his shoulder just a couple of weeks ago. And has been struggling in tournaments this year, honestly. Home Story Cup, he kind of bombed out. Nice to see Showtime doing well in WCSs. Man, I mean, Lambo is on Roach Ravage and he's on even supplies with Harstem. That's never good. The fact that Harstem's already building carriers is just sort of crazy. I mean, that's just how far ahead he is. He's just in this position where he just says, yep, well, one thing I can do to lose this game right now is attack into what is a ton of units from you. Like, you know, you're making a lot of mid-game units. So if you're just going to keep doing that and hope that I attack, I'm just going to tech up. And at that point, what is Lambo going to have to truly deal with this? Well, he has gone into the Spire and the Hive. So he has something kind of on the way, perhaps. But, I mean, then Harstem's already got the kind of the jump start. Already 2 carriers up and ready to go. So, yeah, looking very good here for Harstem. Is Lambo out if he loses? Yes. If Lambo loses this series, he's eliminated from this WCS event. So, this would be his run over. This is it. From now on, it's single elimination. No one has second chances. No one has second lives in the rest of the matches. This is all now a single elimination bracket. So, again, the winners of these series join the main playoff bracket, which is round of 24. So you can consider this essentially kind of round of 32. And then you win this, you go round of 24, you win that round of 16, and so on and so forth. A couple of changes getting picked off over there. Great Aspire is still coming along, just over halfway done at the moment. So it's currently swiping their way through this hatchery. That's a really nice pickup as well. Gets a base. Meanwhile, Harstem is starting to push just with his first few carriers. Man, even just the interceptors, you know, eating a few shots to the Hydras just makes life so much easier for Harstem here. He's going to be picking up Overlord kills on the top. These Roaches are going to try and sneak by, but I think Harstem obviously already saw it. They are going to end up being able to maybe flank this. Great storms, though, coming down the Hydralisk. I mean, what sort of a flank is it when actually you just can't even move in with your main army because the storms are too good? Lambo's taken so much damage on these Hydras already, and as Harstem presses forwards, well, Lambo, I really feel, is in a lot of trouble. Storms, oh my god, the force fields on those Roaches. He wants them to stay in the front. He wants them to have to fight, and Lambo GG's and well played before the series is, well, before the fights are really even completed. He kind of knows that this was just way too good from Harstem. Very well.